Hey guys, happy Friday. Thanks for continuing to join us for devotions. And if you've stumbled upon us, we're glad you're here. And what we do is we take our weekend teaching and we continue it through our week in devotional pieces. And we've been leaning into Matthew chapter 5, verse 3, which is kind of the Sermon on the Mount in the beginning of the Beatitudes. But we opened up our series with a guy sharing his testimony, David Dang, and I think it was a meaningful piece and it will continue to encourage you. And so today we're going to hop back and look at that testimony again, hear that story, and let it challenge and stretch us what God's doing, not only in his life, but in so many others. Enjoy.
Hi, everyone. Hi there. My name is David Dang. That's not a typo. That's actually how you pronounce my last name, Dang, D-A-N-G. I have the opportunity here to work on staff. I get to work on the creative media department, and so I get to do all the photos and videos. And so if you like the Devos or any of those testimony videos, anything that we do, I do that. But if there's one that in particular you don't like, I didn't do that one. Someone else did that one. But yeah, so Pastor Ben wanted me to come on stage and share a little bit of my testimony, a little bit of my story. To get you guys some background, I originally grew up in the East Coast. East Coast is not the best coast. West Coast is the best coast. Thank God I'm here. Come on. But I originally grew up in Orlando, Florida, and grew up in an Asian family home. My parents were immigrants from Vietnam. They met here, actually, in the States, and they got married, and born was me. And so I came, and it was interesting enough to say when you, if you're first generation American like myself, you grow up in a very unique family kind of environment. And so my family in particular, with Asian background, they were really strict, super strict. You don't have to be Asian to be strict. My parents were just extremely strict. And so there's nothing I could get away with. There was just already my life before I was even born, an expectation of where I was going to do, who I was going to marry. Everything was just already laid out before me. And so literally growing up, because my parents were immigrants, they worked really hard just in life to get where they are now. And one of the things in particular is that they just, they just ended up becoming just workaholics. And they worked so hard to make sure that my sister and I, my younger sister and I, would just have everything and get everything. But the uniqueness of all that is that our relationship just started to kind of just distance itself naturally because they were working all the time. And so, maybe many of you guys could kind of attest or agree, those that have similar parents, is that we just grew apart and we didn't really have much of a relationship. It was pretty much transactional. If it wasn't the 12 hours that they were working a day, we would go out and either they would, buy me things, go to the mall, just to fill in that void of love. Or and then in the Asian culture in particular, one of the things that they do, and they don't do this in a way that's just kind of degrading, is just how that's just what they do is that they don't use necessarily the words "I love you." That's kind of foreign, or at least in my family, that's foreign. The words, those three specific words, "I love you." It wasn't a word that was said often. What they would say, though, are these other words would say, "Have you eaten yet?" And so they literally, almost after soccer practice, after any schooling events, like, "Hey, have you eaten yet? Have you eaten yet?" And man, I will tell you, I did get a little chubby as a kid just because of that. And so my parents would just feed me and feed me and feed me. And that's how they showed their love. But the uniqueness, we were talking about school earlier, is that my parents, in that time growing up, my parents sent me to this Christian school because of just the local environment that we were in right now, at that time. It wasn't great for schooling, and so they're like, let's take advantage of private education. They sent me to a Christian school because Christians are known to be good people, don't do drugs and all these things, right? Which, Christians don't do those things, right? Hopefully. And so I went to that school, and God actually used it for good. I became a Christian. I found the Lord in a chapel, and man, it just became so tangible. But I still lived under my parents' household, which they are Buddhist. They don't know the Lord. Like I said, they had an expectation set out for me. They literally, my life plan, my grades even. So many of you guys probably know and have heard of, we talked about school, but communities out here say, you look at the grading system, A, B, C, D's. They're like, oh yeah, A's are great. B's like, yeah, like that's you did your best, that's good. C's like you maybe could have done better. D's and S, not so great. But Asians, A's average. B is like, yeah, you could do better. C is like, don't even think about it. D is like you're dead, and F, you're dead at that point, so it doesn't matter. So literally, my parents set out this expectation in my life that this is how you're gonna live your life, this is how you're gonna do your grades, all these things. And life was just me chasing after that expectation, chasing after what they thought was good for me. I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician growing up just because I wanted to help people. And the Lord actually just twisted that. And I was like, hey, you're going to help people, but spiritually in ministry. And so that's the route I ended up going at. But they just, for so long, you're like, no, you're going to be a doctor. This is what you're going to do. This is the grades you're going to get. This is the school you're going to go to. Well, fast forward, I went to college. In my first year of college, I went to this Christian university called Southeastern University. Amazing university, I love it. It was awesome. Pastor Dan and I actually graduated from the same university. And I go to this university, and I didn't tell my parents at the time. I already broke the news to them. I'm not gonna, be a doctor. I'm actually gonna do business. They're like, fine, that's whatever. You'll still make money. It's all good. And so, growing from an affluent family, they're saying as long as you're set there, you're good. But the thing is, I didn't tell them the other side of the truth. It was actually I was double majoring in youth ministry as well, and so I was going to go be a pastor and do business. But my mentor was telling me at the time, like, hey, David, you actually need to tell them the full truth. They're paying for it, so it's probably wise that you kind of just tell them everything. And so I sat down right around Easter time, around 2015, and I said, hey, Mom and Dad, this is what I'm actually doing. I want to be in ministry. I feel called to ministry. I feel this is what the Lord has for me. And they sit me down, they look me straight in the face, and they say, David, don't call us your parents anymore. You're not our son. And literally, it was, heartbreaking. But at the same time, it was, to give you more of an idea of a scene. Have you ever seen Mulan? The whole, you disown all your family. That's exactly what happened. That was the scene. That was the moment there. Raining all that day. It was a terrible season of my life. And in that moment, the enemy tried to do so many things. He tried to use and bring in these lies that my parents would say, hey, we're going to get a divorce. And I had my little sister at the time. So I'm thinking about my sister. Oh, my gosh, my sister is going to grow up in a broken family because of my decision, simply just being in ministry. Lord, what am I supposed to do? You told me I would have a family. I don't even have a family just because of the decision I'm following you. Yeah, you're my heavenly Father, but I don't. God, is this the road you have for me? Is this the path you have for me? This doesn't seem like the path my parents laid out for me. And so I was in this turmoil of not knowing what to do. And so that summer, I went ahead and just went on a limb. It's like, God, I'm just going to work my tail off to get into college just one more semester. And so I did. I got into one semester at Southeastern. In that fall semester, I had the opportunity to share my testimony, very similar to like I'm doing right now. And the board of trustees at the time with, spiritual giants of our faith are sitting in that room. And they say, David, after hearing your story, we want to give you a full tuition scholarship. We see the calling on God that he has on your life, and we want to be a part of that story. And so they give me a full tuition scholarship. And I'll wrap up with this. And the reason why I share all of that is because, man, I was at my wit's end saying, God, I don't know what to do. And I simply just trusted the Lord. And I said, God, if this is the plan you have for me, I'm going to follow you, even if it means not having the affluent life my parents thought, or not having this ideal kind of life. But man, Lord, I'm just going to trust you and know that this is the plan you have. This is the will of God you have for me. I'm going to trust you. And so I want to encourage you guys, if you're going through a situation, one, with your child, God has your child. If they're not a believer, if they don't know the Lord, even if they are, God is with them. God is with you and your child because of your prayers, because of your faithfulness. And then two, man, there's hope. If you feel like you're at your wit's ends, there's hope. There's the Spirit that's there with you. He's with you right now. Even in this room, whatever room you're watching in, he's with you. And so I just want to encourage you guys, and thank you so much for letting me share.
Yeah.